Okay, so do you know what? I'm going to jump really quickly into the separate issue of nucleotides because I know we're running short of time. I know you've got people you've got to speak to, and I don't want to keep you too long. But for me, nucleotides are very interesting, and I know it's obviously it's where I met you and it's where you're speaking on. So I want to come back to that. Where do you see them fitting in? Not just in any sports performance perspective, but in a daily perspective to people who might be, having a gut biome issue, recovery issues, energy-wise, that kind of thing. Where do you use them, or where do you see their role?
Well, the interesting thing is the average person hasn't heard of nucleotides in nutrition, and yet they are probably the first form of complex molecule that existed on Earth. If you believe in the primordial soup model for the initiation of life on the planet, they were almost certainly in there because they are the fundamental, they are the ladders and part of the sides of the step ladder of every DNA strand and RNA strand in the body. And we have about 1,000 times more RNA in our bodies than we do DNA, which is essential for the cellular replication. So they were not only probably the first complex organic molecules that helped life get going in the first place 4.5 billion years ago, they are also the latest category of nutrients. So in nutritional science, many people now are willing to accept that they are conditionally essential nutrients. So they're conditionally essential, that's why they're now added to infant formula for babies that are 6 months or less in age. It was one of the developments in infant formula that allowed the infant formula industry to say, do you know what, we're now producing something that's closer to breast milk. How come breast milk is very rich in nucleotides? And in essence, we need these fragments of DNA and RNA in order to build new cells. Now, we've got 3 ways in which our bodies can produce them. Either we produce small amounts within the body, we salvage old DNA and RNA and can reuse the bits and build new cells and new DNA and RNA with them, or we get them through our diet. Again, what we have been looking at is the shift in our dietary intake over the last few millennia. And what we see is a dramatic decrease in the amount of nucleotides that we're consuming. When you consume foods that are rich in nucleotides, they have an umami flavor, the kind of flavor you get from miso soup. Why from miso soup? Or if you make a chicken stock, you get that delicious flavor. That's the umami flavor. Chicken stock is very rich in nucleotides. Yeast extracts, Marmite, Vegemite, very rich in nucleotides, that kind of taste. So bottom line is that we consume very little of them. In actual fact, the richest source in the human diet historically has been offal meats. Since the BSE crisis, we consume almost no offal meats anymore. When I was a kid, my mother was born and brought up in Greece. We would eat brain and heart and pancreas, sweetbreads, etc. People don't eat that stuff anymore. So our nucleotide levels have dropped down. Not only that, we live in a more stressed situation than we have at any other stage of our history, and the simplification of our diets means that our immune systems are completely on red alert all the time. And our immune systems and our guts are the 2 biggest users of new cells. So cellular production and immune cell production are ramped up the whole time, and we don't have enough resources to actually fix our guts or produce new immune cells unless we take dietary nucleotides. So I'm now of the opinion that all of us should either be consuming diets that are richer in nucleotides or consume them in supplemental form. Frankly, it doesn't make a lot of difference. If you're an elite athlete, you're going to struggle to get the kind of amounts that you should probably be consuming, which is in the low the low gram level. So you would probably want to be consuming 1, 2, 3 grams a day. half a teaspoon to a teaspoon a day, it's actually generally much easier to take that and drop it into a protein shake and consume it. So yes, I think they're fundamental. We've been working with one of the leading producers of nucleotides. We've been helping them with various university studies on elite athletes or people with IBS, seeing remarkable results. And I know myself, in using them for my own athletic pursuits and endurance pursuits, I mean, my immune system is more level than it's ever been. If I used to do a big hard ride, say 100 miles or more, chances are I'd get the expression of a cold sore. I'm carrying herpes simplex, and it comes out in a cold sore. My immune system can't manage anymore. As long as I'm taking nucleotides at relatively high doses, I never get the expression of a cold sore. I never then succumb to a cold after I've done an endurance event. So, I mean, they are truly remarkable. I think obviously they're not the only thing that we need to take. If you look at a small number of key supplements that should be additional to food, you'd probably pick up things like omega-3 to stabilize our omega-3, omega-6 ratios. You'd probably also be looking at some additional sources of polyphenols, phytonutrients that are difficult to get in sufficient quantity in the diet. You'd also be looking at nucleotides. You'd probably also be looking at a few additional minerals like zinc and magnesium that most of us are very deficient in. But those are amongst the most important things that I think we can benefit from. All of us benefit, but particularly when we're athletic, consuming extra.